hopefully I've just appeared on stream. Can you hear me, Rachel and Shanktopus, who's just said good evening? Hopefully you can hear me.
I've got the stream up. I can see you, but I've got
That's
it on
good.
mute because hearing you once is more than enough.
That is true. There's a good sort of 10 seconds where there's a delay, so I need to wait for someone to say they can hear or not.
Yeah.
Rachel's in the other room, so she's walked away. A bit quiet, that's good. Can you hear Jamie and can you hear Richard, who can say whatever they like?
Hello, welcome
Hello,
to the
hello,
stream.
hello.
And game 1 is at 8 o'clock.
Okay, I'm going to turn myself up, which means there might be some sort of weird, noisy things happen. No,
That's all right.
I'll put it closer. I'll just have to have the microphone in my mouth. So yeah, hello. Hopefully you can still hear us and all that, and that's the first time in a long time that we've not had any tech issues, so that's brilliant news for me. I'm just checking. I don't seem to be moving on the stream. Richard is loud, but we can hear everyone. Yeah, that's fine. So
What you need?
we're going to go through the lists and have a wee chat about them. We're going to go through. I've got these sheets of paper next to me, which has the loyalists and the traitors to do a draw of who's playing each other in the first game, which will be interesting. I wanted to have the Champions League theme, but I think you'd get the stream pulled for copyright, so I thought I better not. And then, yeah, just a wee bit about the day and what's going on, and maybe a wee bit about what's down on the horizon as well. So it's been a little while since we've done one of these. You'll see a new face. We've got Jamie with us.
Hello, 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 hello.
Jamie's moved up from from Bristol to Aviemore, and
To Aviemore. I have
yeah.
moved up from the distant jungles of
Yeah,
Aviemore.
yeah. So Jamie's a bit of a AT whiz, which is good because we're needing that in our little clique. And why don't you give us a wee introduction about your experience with the game, Jamie? That'd be interesting for people.
Oh well, I was saying to Kieren before we came on, I'm just coming to the event to like crush new players and make myself feel good about myself. So no, I have used to still kind of have a hand in running a venue down south in Bristol. It's like a community gaming space, and it's pretty popular AT down there. We usually have at least a couple of people playing club nights and things like that, and do an event every 3 months or so, and it's usually pretty popular. I think as more and more uh, mature gamers, shall we say, like I can't really say old, can I? But as older gamers move away from 40k a wee bit, I think AT is becoming more and more popular. And a lot of heresy players before 2.0 came out as well were moving on to AT. So right after lockdown, everyone had kind of painted up armies, and we did a few events, and they were really popular. I played my first game, like summer of actually only a year ago. Goodness, I say I'm an expert, but I've only been playing for a year. Played my first game about a year ago, and I was hooked. It's like the best game GW have. They certainly currently do, and maybe tied for best game ever with Battlefleet Gothic.
So it's interesting saying that
Yeah,
because I
I'm
found.
with you on that. I love Battlefield Gothic.
Yeah, but I think
Definitely.
so. The one thing I would say about Battlefleet Gothic though is it suffered as they added more bump to it. Like the Necron
Mm.
fleet was not very fun to play against.
Yeah, the,
And
co- the initial core book was very balanced.
I'm a bit
And like you
worried
say,
about.
as all that extra stuff
Yeah,
got added,
so that's what I'm worried about AT trying to do that because I know there's always people saying add Gargants and add Elder and all that stuff because they were around in the Heresy, but I think that's probably if they do it well, of course they should, and make the game closer to Epic, bring out Epic, etc., etc. But I think as it is, where you've got kind of mirror lists to draw from and mana pools, it's good, and I prefer that because it sort of feels a bit more chessy rather than a bit more. I'll just bring this one thing and you can't do anything about it because you hit me on sixes because of some nonsense Eldar rule I've got or something like that. So I'm a bit cautious. I love the game. AT as it is brilliant, but maybe a wee bit cautious about the future.
I think we're more likely to see epic Horus Heresy than we are to see Titanicus with Gargants and Eldar and stuff. I think they've just done the Aeronautica book for Heresy. There's a lot of Heresy models with the planes that they've done already. They've got the Titans. They'd only really need a couple of sprues of vehicles and a couple of sprues of infantry, and you could be doing you've got epic 30k, in 4 or 5 sprues. I think we're more likely to see that than we would be to see the other races that were around at the time, or for them to bring it into the 40k setting.
I think that's probably true. I think it would be silly to sort of bring out, here's an Eldar thing, because they're not going to bring out Eldar infantry necessarily, but I guess they've got Aeronautica, so who knows. I hope not. Hope we sort of, 'cause I'm 30k all the way, that's my setting and I enjoy that the most, but at least give us a wee
You're
bit
just
more
you're
time.
just still you're still butthurt after my Tyranid fleet just wrecked your orcs.
That's true. I got rid of that. Orcs fleet made me a lot of money though, so that's fine.
Yeah, I sold all of my metal Battlefield Gothic recently as well, because I've got a 3D printer. I was like, well, I can't really justify having several £100 of lead sitting in a shoebox.
Exactly. So yeah, that's true. But yeah, I don't know. That's we're navel gazing a wee bit. We better get onto the lists. We've got an actual
Yeah.
attendee. Hasn't said who he is, so being a bit coy there, but we'll get through this. So this is me having to turn something on. We're going to disappear, so you can look any way you like. You can look happy or sad in the background here as I scroll down these. Hopefully you've both got access to it. But if not, then you'll need to listen to me explain who it is. So it's Loyalists up first. We've got William Sutherland with his Legio Solaria. He's running the Dominus one, and I meant to have this to hand so I could look at the mana pools.
The Dominus one is, if memory serves, it's one warlord and some like I think they do, like it's the warlord and the reavers compulsory, then the warhound, and there's like a compulsory night banner.
Yeah.
And you can't. Your minuses to shoot the titans.
Yeah, that's the right.
If you're next to the knights.
I think this might even be who's in the audience there, because he did say his knights are painted up the right chassis for the parent Legio, so it could be that William is the one that's listening to us now. I think this one's quite cool.
I think there's some cool synergies in this list. Legio Solaria suffer a little bit from being the loyalist warhound Legio, and everyone just kind of sees them as that. They get a lot of screen time in the Heresy books. They're like the main characters in Titan Death, the one in Beta Garmin. So they're quite popular, but they suffer for not being a good Warhound Legion compared to Legio Audax. But there's some cool stuff in this list. Combining it with the chameleon shrouding that the Legio Solaria get means that those Warhounds are really difficult to take out at range. And then once they're up and about and in behind you, you're either got to turn to face them, and then you've got to deal with that warlord, or you've got to ignore them.
He's sort of gone. The warlord seems very geared up for ripping your shields out as well, which is pretty cool. I think that's probably going by Gatling blasters, Volkite, and the plasma. You kind of like still got a wee bit of punch with the plasma if you go for pushing it, but it looks like a lot of shots to strip shields down really quickly if you get close enough.
Yeah, I mean, you can give it the overcharged cannon stratagem as well, which is +2 strength when you overcharge it, so your shots are going off at strength 12, I think.
Yeah, I did that last night actually.
If you run it in an Extergimus, they go off with strength 14, and it's just gratuitous at that point. But I think this is a really interesting list. There's a lot of nice combos in there. There's a lot of nice synergies. I like it, and it's very, very fluffy for Solaria as well, because they're all about, like, their knights are really loyal to the Titan Legion. There's a scene, again, it's in Titan Death, where the knights all make this glorious last charge so that the Titans could get away.
Okay. I think the use of the 2 banners is sensible as well, because you're getting that advantage. Interesting having a Lancer in there. I'm guessing that's for the shield, ion shield, or just a bit of punch when you get close.
Yeah, I do. That's interesting actually. I didn't know if you could mix the banners at
the Cerastus ones you can, yeah.
Cerastus ones you can. I thought you could only mix them in the Knight household. That's interesting.
But I think I really like the idea of the Warhounds kind of fainting, coming in and like giving a wee punch and maybe running away to get the benefit of that chameleon shrouding as well. So could be a good one. This could be a list to watch maybe. One that could do quite well, I think.
Yeah, I'm moderately interested to see how it will do. I won't say scared, but I wouldn't want to face it if I had my choice.
There you go. He's saying it's not him. Shanktopus is not William. And the angriest dwarf lord. One day I dreamed to make the Nemesis Warbringer work.
I think Angriest Dwarf Lord might be my mate from Bristol, and he is determined to make the Nemesis. We'll probably get on to Nemesis Warbringer discussion because I think there's a few people here who have taken them, and there's one person who hasn't taken one, and I'm surprised.
He's staying with me tomorrow, so I'll be able to jar him about it. So we've got Paul Eckworth next, a new player. I don't. So William, I don't know if he's experienced or not. I know Paul is not, because he's pretty brand new. We know him from previous gaming stuff. So I think this is
He had his first game last night.
first game. Did you play
Yeah.
him?
Yeah, I went up to Scots and they went half and half, and I played them too.
Ah, okay.
And he picked up really quick. He sort of instinctively knew what he had to do. So yeah, I'll let you go through the
I had a chat with him. He said he'd been getting like watching and reading, so I think he's not going in completely blind.
Yeah. I think that's interesting. You're right about the Warbringer. I think it's a model that you either love it or you hate it, and most people seem to hate it as a model. Never mind the rules; they just don't like the model. But for some reason, we seem to have won in like every second list in this. So people.
Yeah,
obviously...
I love the model, but there's very few lists I feel that it fits well in. But anyway, we'll let you.
Yeah,
go
so
and
we've got
get back to it.
so he's picked the Arcus Battle Line Maniple, which is one of the ones that needs
You can draw. You can
Warbringer.
fire indirectly with the Warbringer if your Warhounds can see the target, so they kind of go up and scout.
And it's good. It stops the scattering as bad as well, which is pretty good because that's really one of the weirdest things in AT is those scatters are so generous and massive. So having a D6 instead of a D10 is going to be massive for not scattering off your target, I think. So he's got his Warbringer. He's gone for the Quake Cannon on the roof, I think. Yeah. He's got his laser blaster. Actually, has he only got one gun? Oh, volcano cannon. I thought he'd only put one.
Yeah, he's
gun
got the
on.
volcano cannon on the arm.
So a lot of punch, and I think this is what the one that's going to come up for Scott had the same. Like he's gone quite punchy with his as well. Like he's not sort of trying to play it safe by not pushing the reactor or anything. So I think the laser blaster will be shield draining probably, but decent range. I don't know what plasmatic binders do. You might know, but
if I remember correctly, they let you dump heat, but I might be.
Okay, that'd be good.
I might just be making that up. I think because he is Legio Astorum, they are like the really repairy tanky guys, if I remember correctly. What's interesting about this list, and I think it's possibly, I mean, I'm I don't know Paul very well, and I don't want to be like a dick or anything, but possibly there's a little bit of the inexperience coming through here. Is most people will pair the Arcus with a Ferox Maniple. So you take the minimum sized Arcus and then the minimum sized Ferox.
Right, okay.
So the Ferox can get in, about, and finish stuff quite effectively. And you've got your Warbringer opening up the targets. But I don't think it's a terrible plan to just kind of rely on that reactor, park it in a corner, and just keep firing indirectly with it. Because as long as you're not pushing it to move, and you make sure you're repairing and dumping all that heat, it's pretty forgiving on the reactor.
Yeah.
I think the problem with the Warbringer in general is that it doesn't operate well on its own. It needs a lot of Titans to support it. And it's almost the same points as a Warlord, which doesn't need another Titan to support it. So the Warbringer is not great at stripping shields. Like, you can give it the Gatling blasters, but then it needs to get up close. Or you can give it the lasers, but again, it needs to get in close for that.
That was sorry to interrupt. That was so last night we had this game, and both Paul and Scott are running Warbringers, and having played a bit more than themselves, obviously I knew from that point that Warbringer's not going to strip shields very well by itself. They had to rely on the Warhounds. So what Jamie's saying is right. You know, the Warbringer isn't great at stripping shields, so he is going to need those. You see those two Warhounds he's got on that list. They're going to have to do a lot of lifting for them to get that synergy working well, I think.
I think the only thing that, like, so I'm not trying to say he's right or wrong, because I want people to bring what they want. I think he's put 2 Reavers in, and I think you're right, Jamie. Maybe another mana pool would have been better served. But when you look at he's got a Chain Fist on a Reaver. I probably would have put another Shield Strippy Gun or something on there just to try and make the most of the fact that the Warbringer's going to be sitting back there just lobbing shells, volcano cannon shots. So I think the 2 Reavers will be good because that's your main sort of, I don't know, Terminator-esque unit, isn't it? Like that's our old reliable Reaver. You're not going to go wrong, but he's maybe not quite got the guns I would have picked for his Reavers. Because a Melta Cannon and a Volcano Cannon on the same Reavers maybe not quite gonna deliver what he wants, because he's gonna have to get close to get the benefit of the Melta, but Volcano Cannon's got the ridiculous range.
And he's gonna struggle to finish targets off with that list because he's only got 3 guns he can target with. And in my experience with those random location rolls from all those blasts, you invariably, someone will consistently hit your Titan in the body every time, and you'll be getting weapon and head and leg, all over the place. Yeah. I think the Knights and the Warhounds are going to be doing a lot of the heavy lifting in that list.
The Knights, I think Lancers are just very, very good. The only thing I did, and you'll see my list next, but when I was playing on Sunday there, my Lancers, you've got to be within the 2 inches, and I was being quite cautious almost, and I was always sort of 2.5 or 3 inches away from what I wanted to shoot, and I was like kicking myself. So you have to kind of forget the fact that your Lancers might get stood on or blasted, and just throw them in, try and get the benefits of that high strength shot that you get off the actual lance, because I kept forgetting, and that was my stupid mistake.
Lancers are your glass cannon. Like if someone ignores them, they'll get work done, but they're generally, if I've got Lancers, I'm more like, well, if they're shooting my Lancers, they're not shooting my Titans.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and sometimes you just get lucky with those shield saves as well and really annoy someone. So sometimes it's well worth feinting with your Lancers and hoping they get shot instead of your good stuff. But I think this will be a good list as well, actually. I think Paul's probably picked quite well, and it's sort of, to me, it feels almost that sort of, there's like a story to be told with this list, I think. Like he's probably come away with one game where it just works, and it'll be like the story will be really happy where everything just sort of clicked. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, if everything lands where it needs to land, that's going to be scary.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, we've got some garbage next.
Well, so I might not even get to play, I think, because I think I'm the odd player out. But
hope not.
I don't mind. I honestly, when you're running an event, it's nice to be able to walk around and keep things going anyway. But so I'll go through mine anyway. So we've got the Legio Gryphonicus, went for Axiom. I have ran the what's the one where you run all? Is it Corsair, where you run all of the Reavers?
Oh yeah, Corsair, where you can moonwalk with them.
Yeah, and I don't think that's sort of how I would play. Like Gryphonicus, it fits them doing that mode, but I'm not sure it sort of fits the rules.
No, it's kind of a waste of their rule as well, because you can sub
exactly.
Reavers into any mana pool, so it's a bit pointless in taking them in the. It's not bad because you can get extra movement on them, so they can be like walking back 12 inches and stuff like that. But I agree with you. I don't think it's the best use of them.
Went for Reavers anyway. There's a Warlord in there because I feel like I'd sometimes need that extra bit of punch. But the Reavers, the Warhound's been replaced with a Reaver in the Axiom mana pool, just because you always roll a bloody 1 when you need a command check. I feel like getting an extra order off is sometimes just very helpful for me, because I seem to have terrible luck when I really need to roll well. So just a mix of weapons. Like I've always forget I've got the Gravitas plating on something, so I've deliberately named my Titans. I've got I'm turning round as if you're going to see me turning and pointing at it, but I bought some nameplates and stuff, so that's hopefully going to remind me that I've got a little bit of extra armour on my Melta Cannon Reaver Titan there, so hopefully that'll do alright. and I'll be able to put it a bit further forward to benefit from the melta, because I've done the same thing that Paul did and put a melta cannon and a volcano cannon on there. But I don't think there's anything majorly. It's a bit of a dull list, really, because it's only 4 robots and 3 knights. But it does what it
Have you only
needs
got
to
the
do.
4? One,
Yeah, so I've
two,
just got 3
three.
reavers and a
Yeah.
warlord in there.
Ah, fair
So it's a
enough.
bit of a. If one goes down, I could be a bit exposed of not having enough to make up for it. But the missions and stuff, we'll just have to see. And I might not have to play, so don't feel bad for me, because I like going round and taking photos of people. And I might have to fill in on the other side anyway, so I didn't want. I've put myself down as a loyalist, but
I mean, Traitor Gryphonicus, I think might be the most broken thing you can do in the entire game.
They
Like,
got-
like legitimately, like you could do some filthy things with traitors in
they got
Gryphonicus.
everywhere. They got everywhere Gryphonicus, so some of them might have got a bit confused. So that'll be fine. I can see Shanktopus has said that himself and William have played plenty of games casually, so that's good. We've got some experience coming. I thought it was maybe going to be quite a lot of new players, but it's nice if there's people that kind of at least know enough to try and hit the time, because I know we're going to be fairly tight for time. Some people might take a little bit longer, which is again why I'm quite happy going round and helping people a wee bit just to keep them spinning on. So yeah, fire on. If you've got anything to say about this list, feel free. I will keep quiet while you slag it off.
Um, it's very different from the Gryphonicus list that I run. I like to go for the super speedy legs on everything, run forward and get right up into brawling range, or even into close combat range with my Gryphonicus Reavers. I have um, I have run the Sonic Warlord as well a couple of times, because it's a combo you can do where you can get your Warlord going 18 inches turn 1 for 3 heat in Gryphonicus. So you just have a combat Warlord right up in the middle of the board. It's not very good, but it's very funny. Um, I think it's all right. It's pretty standard, really.
Yeah.
You you might want to try and sneak an extra activation in there. You've only got the 5 activations,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of people taking 6 activations. But they're pretty tanky activations.
I think that's fair. I think that's sort of. I think this is definitely 101, AT 101. At least have as many activations as the average player probably like that you're gonna have to face, and maybe that's where
Yeah,
I'll suffer a wee bit.
I've run the Extergimus, which really the most you can get out of it is 4. That's the 3 warlords and something else usually, and you really need those warlords to hit. If you whiff with a warlord, then you're a massive activation disadvantage.
I think that's fair enough. Richard, anything to say about this before we leave me alone and move on?
No, not really.
Okay,
I think you covered it all. I just you got any sort of stratagems in mind you'd like to run with it?
So I don't. I really, really like Blind Barrage. I think it
Mm,
is such a cheeky, because it works for and against you. So if
yeah.
you know you're about to get blown up, you could just chuck that on yourself and be like, well, good luck hitting me. Or
Mm,
really annoy someone who's just pulled out a good position to be like, no, can't actually, you're not going to get to shoot anything next turn or whatever. But that's
mm.
probably the one I've used the most. I think because Thermal Mine's got nerfed, didn't it? It's not
Yeah,
as effective anymore.
strength 8 now.
Yeah.
Used to be strength 10.
So I think that's the one I tend to run the most. I use the one that just ends the activation, the
Mhm.
strategy phase. Sorry, ends the strategy phase, and that one's pretty.
Yeah,
That's really powerful.
Vox Blackout.
Yeah,
yeah.
I really
Yeah,
like
we
that one.
we tend to FAQ it so that things that are, because as written, if you take one of the stratagems that upgrades your gun, you're supposed to play that in the first turn, and you can only play it in the first turn. So if someone plays
Okay.
Vox Blackout, you can't upgrade your gun. So
Nah.
we have a sort of list of things that will go off regardless of Vox Blackout being played. Because like Dawn Attack, for example, me playing Screaming over the radio isn't going to stop the sun coming up.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that. Like, and if that comes up,
Yeah.
that's obviously I think there's certain to do that on turn 1 to stop someone getting like something they've paid lots and lots of points for potentially. Seems a
Yeah,
bit
like
much for me.
the Legio Mortis stratagem, I think, has to be. It's 3 CP, has to be played turn 1, and you could just cancel it with Vox Blackout, and
Yeah,
it's like,
don't like
oh
that.
well.
So I think that's probably, yeah, would be a bit of discussion on that. I can see Fraser's joined us as well. He's the one that you're interested in discussing his lack of Warbringer. So yeah, I think I tend to try and run those sorts of ones. The one I got, Scott used one against me that I didn't even realise was that effective. I think it's only 2 CP. It was the one where you can change the order on a Titan.
Mm.
And that really, because
Oh,
it
yeah,
made
he did that against me as well.
he used my warlord, used it at my warlord, and it made my warlord have first strike or whatever. Like made stamp forward instead of shoot, which was I thought that was
Yeah.
really cheeky. So that one would, I imagine a lot of people pick that one, and I just never read it properly.
Yeah, it's sabotage because you can get because you roll the dice, so you can just turn someone's Titan off.
Yeah.
So its shields go down and it's just stood there, and then you can't turn it back on until the end phase. It's really strong. It's really underrated sabotage.
Yeah, that's a good one. Okay, so we've got Greg Summers, who might be. I'm waiting to see. Oh, Warp Shenanigans would disagree as well. It's well known loud noises scare off the servitors loading the guns.
Yes. Yeah, that's exactly what happens with Vox Blackout. So I know Greg
Okay.
IRL, so I better be kind.
Okay, you better be, especially if he's in there. So he's got the Arcus again, which I'm amazed we've got one, never mind two, so far. So the Loyalists obviously have a lot of Warbringers in their arsenal. So we've got the Arcus one again. Same concepts, quite similar. I think the dual turbo lasers is interesting on a Warhound because it's obviously going for that combination of potentially having a decent strength gun, but predominantly able to get some shields down as well. And then the classic plasma blast gun and Vulcan Mega Bolter that everyone who played 28mm ran because it was sort of seen as nice, sort of classic. But he's gone for the Quake cannon as well. I guess points might be an issue if that's what people are struggling to get the.
You have to get the volcano cannons, the Forge World upgrade, I think. And it comes with the plastic Quake cannon,
Okay.
so I think it's probably just what people
Right.
have.
And then Laser Blaster and Volcano Cannon again. So still a bit of punch in this Warbringer, which is, again, it's probably going to have to do a bit of lifting, given that, well, there's a Warlord in here as well, so maybe not.
Yeah, this is it's an interesting list, this one.
I think the Mandatum, I looked that up and I was sort of thinking that getting the +1 to hit if you're near the Warlord is going to be really strong on that as well. So I think that's why there's a lot of Vulcan Mega Bolter action in the Warhounds that are in the mana pool. So good list, I think. I think this will be a good one.
Yeah.
Power Claws, obviously, for getting in close.
It's worth noticing as well that he's Legio Metallica, so their special power is that they can double activate back to back. You take 2 heat to do it, but taking that 2 heat on either the Warlord or the Warbringer is not that big a deal. So you can either double activate to strip the shields from something and then open it up with the Warbringer, or you can do it the other way round. You can, strip the shields with something, then activate your Warbringer in normal sequence to like open something up, and then do your special power to activate one of the hounds and finish something off. I think like this could be really good at just deleting a Titan a turn.
I think this is the good sort of example of what we're chatting about with my list, where like there's 5 activations if you squadron the 2 Warhounds, but that's a lot of dice, a lot of action compared to maybe my Reavers being a bit more boring, like not going to be able to do as much with them as someone who's got 4 Warhounds. Like it's going to be quite a lot to deal with in this list if I was playing it, for example.
I mean, it's probably 6 activations, unless, as you say, squadrons the Warhounds. But it's 6 activations with a Warbringer and a Warlord.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a tight list. I think this is maybe my contender for the best list.
Oh, okay, there you go.
I'm throwing it out there.
Is he in here? Can he reduce scatter on the blast is groovy? It's Fraser's played him last week.
Yeah, Fraser's been posting up on the Facebook of some of their games. I don't. Have you beaten him yet, Fraser?
Interesting to see what he says to that. Best list of Anarchus? Pinch me.
Yeah. I mean, well, that's my friend from down south, and he well knows my disdain for the Warbringer.
I'll let Fraser answer while we carry on. You got anything to say about this, Richard?
Mate, it's all good.
Okay. Then we've got Fraser, who is here, and his
I'll type back to him.
Legio. You had a question about his lack of Warbringer given the strengths of his Legio. So Ferox, I think Ferox is a pretty commonly used mana pool because it just gets you a sort of there's a nice little boost, keeps it light, keeps it fast, and cheap. So Ferox is a nice one.
Which one is Ferox?
It's
one Reaver, 2 Warhounds. Knife Fighters means that if you
Right.
close,
I thought it was that one.
Yeah, get armor boosts.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah, so the interesting thing with the Ferox is everyone looks at the +1 on the armor, which is really good, but it's got a second thing that everyone sort of forgets about, which I think is actually better. So you can also use your weapon skill or your ballistic skill when you're within 2 inches of an enemy. So if you can, for example, if you've got the ability to cheat a warlord into this with your Legio ability, suddenly your warlord's not hitting on 5s at close range; it's hitting on 3s, or hitting on 1s with a claw. It's that's what I think is actually the best bit about the Ferox. But it's arguably one of the better mana pools.
And then he's obviously got his backup of a warlord as well, which you need probably because there's probably not enough in 2 Reavers and 2 Warhounds to really like make a big dent. So I think he's done well saving his points. He's been careful with his points, chucked in a relatively well, he's got the tracking gyroscopes on his warlord, but a sort of standard warlord in there, backed up by his lancers, which are by far the most popular of the knights, I think.
They come in the starter box and they're just really good. So Fraser, you are here. What you are perhaps you're running Legio Presagius. You are good at long range. Legio Presagius, I think, is one of the best loyalist legios certainly to run the Warbringer in, because you get the benefit, the bonuses at long range, and you get to re-roll the location dice with those blast weapons, which means that actually your Warbringers suddenly become really reliable. And given the fact that like everyone else is taking Warbringers, I was like, oh, Legio Presagius, we're going to see a million Warbringers. Wait, where's the Warbringer? I think I would have been tempted in this list to personally. I mean, obviously, Fraser, you take the models you like. But I would have been tempted to take the full Ferox and the Warbringer. It isn't painted.
That's fair enough.
Yeah. That was kind of what I was thinking. I was like, Fraser knows enough about AT that is probably he knows what I'm about to say. But I mean, yeah, I think this is a solid list. Legio Presagius are a pretty solid, maybe a bit underrated, but I think pretty good Legio.
And I think it's fair to say Fraser will be a front runner for best painted as well, because his display stand and everything he's built is absolutely stunning. Like really pleased.
Definitely.
Looks amazing. So I'm looking forward to seeing that in person. James was singing your praises, Fraser. He's seen it because you brought it round when you played him. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. That's going to be a real treat that we can see something like that as well. So looking forward to that. Anything else on this one?
The only thing that I would say is, again, I'm going to be really critical because that's my role today. Is that there's a bit of anti-synergy between the Ferox and the Legio Presagius traits, because the Legio Presagius are better at long range, but the Ferox you want to get up close. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Okay, we'll see if he answers you while we move through to Scott Gray. So Scott's the one I was talking about earlier, Jamie, about he's poured a year into his AT, he kind of went into his little hibernation pod, painted his terrain, painted his AT, and hasn't played a lot, I think it would be fair to say, but loves the game. He's really converted him, and he's having a blast playing as well. So he's maybe not aware that taking 2 Warbringers might cause him some challenges, because that was the person I was playing on Sunday there, and yeah, I certainly found maybe needs to be a bit more risk friendly to them, because he sat them at the back of the board and the rest of his stuff moved forward and just got picked off. So you can't leave like nearly half your force at the back of the board and expose the other half to getting blasted. So that's maybe for him just tactically. But again, I think this is one of these lists where if it comes off, he's just going to absolutely leather someone. Like it's just going to be the perfect sort of combo of these two Warbringers just shelling and blasting from afar. I think he's going to could have some joy with this if he's got the right firing arcs and all that.
Yeah, so the
Yeah,
oh, sorry, on you go, mate.
no, I was just gonna say, is Reaver's gonna have to do a lot of heavy lifting on this one. Absolutely.
Yeah, but the Ruptura is quite a good mana pull. So once per round, a Reaver Titan in this mana pull can declare without pushing can power to locomotives without pushing the reactor. In addition, when enemy unit suffers catastrophic damage as a result of the attack made by the Warbringer Nemesis Titan, your Reavers can move. So if you kill something with a Warbringer, those Reavers get pushed up, and you only really need to get this off once per game to have effectively an extra turn of movement on your Reavers, and suddenly all those Reavers up in someone's grill is really scary.
That's true. I think that's sort of he was trying to do that in the game, but he obviously doesn't know the rules as well as he needs to. I think to get the synergies looking for. But
yeah,
this is why I always find events are perfect because you get sort of 3 games in a day. Yeah, you're tired by the end of it, but you can learn a lot because you're playing different people, different lists, different forces, like all that sort of stuff can really help you learn your stuff. So I think this will be great for Scott to really see the strength of the Nemesis, which might not suit your pal down the road of Angriest Dwarflord might be against this, but at least then maybe Scott might want to carry on with this list, or he might see that he's not able to play it.
Angriest Dwarflord loves the Nemesis Warbringer.
No, it's you that doesn't like it.
I hate it. I think
convince
it's
you
terrible.
that it's
I think it's the biggest waste of points in the game. But I love the model, and I own 3 of them. And I want it so much to be good. Interestingly, I think one of the packs is probably who is it that does the 30k ones that we talk about quite a lot. The 30k like alternate rules and alternate units.
Okay, the ones in the sort of
Mournival, that's it. Mournival let you take it with apox on the arms, apoc launchers, and it's really good with apox on the arms because it can strip shields and then open Titans up, and then it only needs a finisher Titan like a Warhound to help it out. It's just I think if the Nemesis could take apoc arm missile launchers, it would be really good. I'm just trying to look up Legio Crucius in my book very quickly because they're not one that I have come across.
They're very bonny anyway. Scott's done a great job on his stuff. He put us to shame with his terrain being painted.
Yeah.
That's tomorrow for me.
Yeah, it's absolutely stunning.
Dry brushing the hell out of my terrain. But he's got his 2 Reavers. I think he had the same problem around the sort of wants them to get forward, but the Warbringers weren't quite delivering the cover they maybe needed to. So a few games will help him out, I think, just to see what's going on. He didn't have.
I was giving him a hard time last night because after our game on Sunday, I had pretty much clear shooting lines to him, and he absolutely loaded his table last night full of terrain.
He's going to be disappointed on you're not going to give him that much. They had his Atropos and they were all right. I think like if they're that sort of unit that they're like the epitome of the glass cannon. I think like they're even worse than Lancers for that.
You can't afford to leave them alone. Either.
Yeah.
So they are. Yeah.
They've got the forge thing that lets them heal, don't they? That the Mechanicum Knights have, but you can volley them down quite quickly. So
yeah.
Legio Crucius, the Warmongers. So they're all about repairing and dumping heat, basically. So yeah, I mean, I can see the thought process that has gone into this list, and I don't think it's a bad one by any stretch of the imagination. It's how many activations is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah. I think that's about what you need. I think 1750. You don't have 5. I think you're struggling. You're really going to be outplayed or outmaneuvered and stuff. So the problem, I think, he's not got anything that weak because the Atropos will hide and they get a really good save against blasts. I think it's like -1 strength to the blast or something like that. So that's pretty handy by default. So I think he'll do all right just by either being a big model that can take hits, or sneaky little guys that will have to like divert something to deal with them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's quite a good list, I think.
I think it's one of those ones. If it pops off, it's obscene.
So then we've got Kev, who I don't think he played many games. I can't remember, Richard, if he's said. I know he's got it's painted, but I don't know if he's played many.
I don't think. I think he's played one or two. He said.
Okay. So
he's not played a lot.
He's gone for the classic, the Axiom. You can't really go wrong with that one, I think.
So I like the Axiom. It's really solid.
Bolted it out. He's filled it nearly. Is it to the brim? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, he's filled it to the max.
Yeah.
Which, fine. I don't think there's a problem.
So he's got six. He's got 6 activations.
Yeah, which is going to be really good, I think.
Actually, does he have 7? No, he has 7 activations.
Oh, he does, yeah.
Oh, he's already gonna. That's
massive, I think.
That's peak. That's impressive.
So I'm just looking at what he's got the power claw on the warlord, so at least it doesn't have to be babysat. It can at least try and look after itself if something gets too close. And then it's got it's I don't think there's anything in there that I wouldn't run, like on my own stuff. I don't tend to run power fists on my Reavers for some reason, but he sort of ran quite an interesting combination. Maybe I wouldn't run 2 volcano cannons on the same Reaver. That's just asking for lots and lots of amber and red on your reactor, but you might get lucky. You might roll the blanks.
I think Tempestus have some stuff that you kind of want them to die. If I remember correctly, when they die, they shoot again. So running hot on them, I think, are they in the Traitor book? I think they are. Let me have a look.
Yeah, he did say he was willing to play either side. So I think they are. I'm just having a skim in case I've got them in here in front of me.
They're the first in the Traitor book. I think in the book in the Heresy that they're actually the main characters in. They're the loyalist ones, but they're the ones that stay on Mars, and then all the ones that are out in the galaxy more or less fall.
Okay.
So Glory and Death. Yeah, you can shoot when you go down, basically.
So he's going to try and deliberately get his Reaver to blow itself up.
And if you've got 1 point of critical damage, you can add strength into your attacks as well.
Okay.
And they do have my favorite stratagem, which I think is terrible, but it's still very funny. You can deep strike a warhound. You can deep strike a warhound. And then he's got the special lasers, which are like slightly longer range than regular lasers.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, I think that's pretty cool. So there's some good stuff, I think. I think again, because he's got the number of activations, he's got getting his 2 banners in, which is 2. Is it banners are 2? Yeah, I think so. 1.
That's what I was just going to ask.
Is it banners are 1? 90 points. It's 90 points. Yes, that must be 2 banners are 1.
That's what I'm going to work out.
Or is it just 1 banner? We're getting ourselves mixed up. Because he's only got 1 Scion.
No, it is one. It is one banner. He only has 6 activations. Yeah, I think it's because it's over the 2 pages on my screen anyway. So
it's just 1. That's fine. I think the points when you see the points that knights cost, and you're like, oh my god, you don't get much for them. But it's interesting. I think the 2 still 6 is pretty good, especially when he's got that much punch in there. And then
I think every list has been 6, apart from Scots. I think this is at 5.
Well,
there's one that's not. There's one other.
And then Angriest Dwarf Lord saying if I've got the whole reactor track, I'm going to use it. Well, I'm pretty sure that volcano cannon will be doing that for him. Dual volcano cannons. Although I wouldn't want to be on the receiving end of it, so it's not necessarily a terrible move.
It's an interesting list. I mean, I could see that warlord being in it because melee warlords generally, unless you can do tricks to make them good, aren't that great. They tend to get in, fail to kill something, and then get killed themselves because people are so scared of them. But the fact that if it goes down, it can fight again is quite scary. It should get at least, if you run it into another warlord, you're at least trading warlords, and if someone's diverted a load of firepower to try and take this thing down and left themselves out of position, it's a high risk, high reward, I think.
Yeah, which is fine. I think that's the beauty of this game. Sometimes you roll that 10 on the death chart and you wipe out everyone around you. That's always a bit of a treat. So I think this will be an interesting list. I think he'll do all right with that.
What's your feeling on weapon synergies on Titans, Jamie? For
Uh,
example, looking at Kevin's, he's got his Apox, a Power Claw, and then a Volcano Cannon. Whereas
um,
when I approach building my list, which you'll see when I come on to, I kind of keep everything within a sort of same range almost.
yeah, I think that. So I have a regular debate with a good friend of mine. We both are big fans of Legio Ignatum. In fact, Legio Ignatum is until I saw this, I was like, oh, there's going to be like 6 Legio Ignatum on the loyalist side. You can see my Legio Ignatum are on the shelf behind me. I really like mid to long range Ignatum to take
Mm.
advantage of their stratagem, whereas he likes the close range to take advantage of their Legio trait. But I I I know what you're saying. I think there's some of the weapons choices here are a bit like, oh, these are the weapons that I have, which is fair enough. They're
Hmm.
the ones that come in the box. But I think some arguably it's
Because
nice to be able to shoot those APOC launchers off at range and then get up
yeah,
close and start. It depends what your list's doing, but I know what you're saying.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Because not like naturally, I would see his, he could pull off his Power Claw, get a couple of good hits on it, and then focus up with something like Gatling blasters. You know,
hmm Yeah, I mean,
but
Gatling Blaster, Melta, Vulcan Mega Bolter is a nice combo
Hmm.
because they all kind of operate at that mid-range brawling and they hit really hard, and you can strip shields, you can finish Titans, and you can open them up. I think there's an argument to be made that that's probably one of the best loadouts for Reavers,
mm,
unless you're building into combat.
mm,
Okay.
Um,
okay, cool.
All right. So then that's the loyalist done. So we're on to the traitor lists now. Some.
Woohoo!
So we've got.
we're both traitors,
We
aren't we?
are.
Yeah.
So we've got Jason up first with his Legio Mortis. He's gone for the Ferox as well. So he's got his 2 Reavers, 2 Warhounds. He's chucked a Warbringer in for support. Yet again, another Warbringer. This must be like them. We've only got 12 players technically, and we've got like that many Warbringers. Very strange that they've been
Well,
so.
someone's taking 2 in one list,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
yeah, there's almost a Warbringer per person.
Must be some online store's got a deal on them somewhere.
Buy one
Well,
get
they
We're
one
not
came in.
free.
privy to it.
They came in the preset maniple.
They did. Oh yes, that's true. Yeah, that
I
that
saw
was
they
a
did,
really good
didn't
value
they?
box as well.
Yeah, I think I bought about 6 of those boxes.
So he's
It's
got
the reason why they were sold out
oh,
everywhere. I'm a bad person.
typo as well. Fix that
Uh,
live. So he's got his pretty standard Gatling Blaster Volcano Cannon. I think a lot of people run that. He's made that his Princeps Senioris. Do you have to do it in a mana pool? Do you have to have your Princeps Senioris in the mana pool if you have to?
yeah, so you can't do
Yeah,
it on something that's out with the
Right,
maniple.
okay, that makes
yeah.
sense. So he's got that. He's got his second Reaver with the Melta Cannon Chain Fist and Mega Bolter, so you know that's getting up close and getting stuck in. Very fitting for Mortis. I've got an Inferno gun. You don't see them very often. He's got 2, one on each Warhound. I don't really see many
Mm,
people running them. Good against Knights, which you might find because there's quite a lot of
they're
Knights running about.
they're only strength 7 into knights,
Yeah, that's true.
so big plus. They're not terrible into knights, but yeah, it's
There's
interesting.
there's a bit of punch with the number of dice you'll potentially get to roll though with those 2, but you'll have to get very close to benefit.
Mm.
So interesting. Um,
He's running a Ferox though, so if he's in the side of something, he's getting +1 for his Ferox and +1 for in the side on the
mm,
Titans. So they're suddenly up to strength 9 with 3 hits, I think, for the. Uh,
I think it is. I think.
there's a, yeah, maybe.
And then again that sort of volcano cannon and laser blaster combo on the Warbringer and the Quake cannon. I think a lot of people, you're right, have probably got that box. But the Quake Cannon isn't really a slouch option because when it makes a Titan turn if you hit it, that's really annoying.
Mm,
Hmm.
So
yeah.
Yeah.
could be very. If you hit at the right time and turn someone 45 degrees to the left and they can no longer shoot what they were going to shoot, that's sort of the dream, isn't it? So
Yeah.
that'll be another. This is another decent list. I'll leave it to you guys about the sort of corrupt and immaterial shield and stuff. It's not my expertise. But he finishes with a it must be 1. You only get 1 Atropos for 200 points, or is it 2?
2.
That's fine. So he's got
Let's check my list. What have I got?
you next.
No, because I've got one and it's. Oh no, sorry.
You don't.
I'm being an idiot. I'm
Uh,
just
So
being
I
an
think
idiot.
this might be Shanktopus. 3 auto hits, be gentle. I think this might be Shanktopus's list.
oh, he's piping.
Where's
there we
Scott's
go.
list?
So I imagine. I mean, obviously, we'll be on the same side, Shanktopus, but there are some filthy loyalists in the chat. So don't feel free to not reveal your plan here. But I imagine you'll be playing that the Mortis stratagem, so you get the long march or the long march to victory or whatever. You can move before the game starts, basically, which is quite strong with the Ferox getting up close. Again, I can see the synergies that he's going for here. I don't hate the list. I mean, anyone who takes something that's not Vulcan Megabolt or Plasma Blast Gun on their Warhounds is doing all right. um, uh, Not now you've told everyone about Vox Blackout. I'm afraid. I did write an FAQ for the day. I don't know how much of that FAQ is being used, but I did write one.
0.
All of it, hopefully.
So hopefully people don't do that. But
No, I think
yeah, I mean,
that's-
I could see this being really scary if it's up in someone's grill. Turn
that's
one.
cool. I think that'll be interesting. Yeah, it's very fast, isn't it? Like it's a very. This will be a list if you don't sort of take something out in the first turn, then you might end up not having the chance because it's all going to be next to you.
Yeah,
that's
exactly. From turn 2, this list is behind you basically.
So I think that's cool. I really like that. It must have been we were chatting. Jason, I think was it? Was chatting to someone about Mortis, and that sort of almost fits the Legio to a T to have that slow march. Like you're never going to stop us. We're coming, sort of thing as well. So I think this will be quite cool. Looking forward to seeing this list. So then we've got Richard, who submitted his as a photo. Very lazy, Richard.
No, it's a nice PDF
With
actually.
Legio
It's so I couldn't go in and just edit all the good stuff out of it.
So
It's tamper-proof.
the first dire
be,
wolf.
be nice now, Jamie. Be nice.
No, the first.
I didn't
dire
realize
wolf.
this was yours. I thought this was really good.
So he's got his dire wolf. He's a bit toady, not the only dire wolf, but he's got that. And then the Stormfrag. I mean, yeah, we've seen that. We've seen the way that the Venator and the Stormfrag links up as well. We had that kind of debate about how does it work if one gunshot and the other one hasn't and all that sort of stuff. But I think it only works the way we played it out of you just carry on, you just get everyone, you just
Yeah, like if so. So I shoot so only there's 2 mega bolters on that Warhounds. I shoot the first one with the no Stormfrags. Hopefully, and let's say that one stripped the shields. Then the Reaver takes a hit, and then the Reaver gets that volcano cannon, hits an area, and then I follow up with the second mega bolter with the Stormfrags. That's how it works.
I think so, and I think it'll be interesting. The only thing out of that sequence I would say, and won't get into a debate on this, is you'd probably have to because Stormfrag's a one-off, isn't it?
No.
Ah, right, okay. That's when do you
I can use Stormfrags every round.
Ah, okay.
I paid 25 points for them, so I'd hope so.
Yeah, this is one of those lists where you only need to get that combo. A bit like the Ruptura, you only need to get it to work once, and suddenly you've got a huge advantage.
Yeah, I've had in every game I've played and I've ran it like this. I've had really good success with this, actually. So for those who don't know what the Venator Maniple is, if a Warhound strips a shield of a Titan, the Reaver gets to take a free shot immediately after those shields are stripped. So like I just said, strip it with one of my Warhounds. Reaver takes a shot. The next Warhound follows up and starts focus firing, ideally on a location area that cause enough damage on. And obviously the Stormfrags have maximum fire, so that's +2 strength on those shots. So.
Does your Direwolf count as a Warhound for the purpose of the Maniple?
Yes.
Because the Direwolf has that weird rule that it counts as a Warhound, doesn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah, and it says it takes on the Maniple rules as per a warhound sort of thing.
As per a warhound, yeah,
Yeah.
that's really strong.
So, and there's no limitation on how many free shots I can get. So, I don't really care about giving it away. You know, I don't play to win at all costs. I just play for fun. So, essentially, what I'm going to try to be doing is my 2 warhounds will usually squadron up. They'll strip something, and then hopefully my direwolf will strip another target, so I can get 2 free shots in a turn. Hopefully.
Mm-hmm.
He says he plays for doesn't play win at all costs, but he brings a direwolf and an Acastus. So
Well,
take
I only took the Castus because it was exactly the amount of points I had to spend.
Yeah, the murder turtles are strong.
It's like fate bestowed it upon me.
could have
Are they?
taken some
Are they?
knights.
Are they only 185 points? I thought because they went up, didn't they?
Oh, imagine he's got an illegal list. That'd be very.
Let me.
It wouldn't be my fault. That would be Quartermaster's fault.
Kick him out. He's banned.
Let me fire up Battlescribe.
Yeah, you find that out. So I think like it's a compact list anyway. I think like if people are playing that and they're worried about the sort of combos, you probably actually want to kill the Reaver first so he doesn't get to keep making free shots against you, and that's like minimises the bonuses that Richard's going to get from that list.
I'm sort of giving away the secrets, but the Warhounds tend to be the thing that after a game, people are like, oh, I should have shot them, should get rid of them, because they do a lot of lifting.
Yeah,
so,
this is the traitor list that jumped out at me as being this is very strong.
Yeah,
I didn't realize
definitely a manky toad, isn't he? So
yeah.
And
he wants to win.
I mean,
his
well,
own
let's
event.
find out let's find out how manky he's being if he's cheating.
yeah, let's find out that actually.
Because they did go up in points.
Hopefully only
They
by
did.
5.
Um,
Imagine that. This will be awkward, Richard.
No, I don't get embarrassed. It's fine.
Okay, so let's add a battle group to this. And you are taking an Acastus
Twin Magma, Iron Storm.
Yeah, it's the basic one. The Porf. No, he's right.
Oh, damn. That'd have been really
It's the other one that.
Woohoo!
The other one that's a weird amount of points.
So that's going to be interesting, I think, to see how you get on with that, because it's, I guess there's a few new players who might just get caught out, and they're not going to have they'll be joining your many people who have said, I wish I'd taken them out at the start. So that'll be interesting. But synergy matters in this game, and activations matter, so it'll be interesting seeing how that pans out.
So stratagem-wise, obviously I'm going to be super maximal firing one of those Sun Furies on that Warlord. Because I kind of
everyone.
Because like I love a double Sun Fury Warlord, but I sometimes like the Sun Fury is just not enough, even when it is maximal fired to finish.
So is it overcharged cannon or whatever they call
it? Yeah. So I'll get up to one of them up to strength 12.
Especially and then
you can get one up to strength 14. If you want to know how, I'm more than willing to tempt you.
Oh.
Take that offline. I don't want to hear
tempt me, dark gods.
Oh no, you can't. You can get your roof rack up to strength 9, I think. And one of your guns up to strength 14.
Right. Okay.
He's not interested then.
So
he gets that.
So here's something I did last night. Right, just I didn't realize they had this stratagem where you can randomly give a weapon maximal fire, but you always have to. What was it that says? You've always got to use the maximal fire on it. So I put that on my Reaver Titan last night, just to test it out, and it ended up going on the Apocalypse missile launchers, and I kept rolling 2 or 3 ones every time I shot it.
Yeah, I have a friend who plays Legion Audax, so the Ursus Claws guys on their Warhounds, and he takes a double Ursus Claw Warhound, and takes that and overcharged cannon, so he can get an Ursus Claw up to strength 8. Which at that point you're fairly reliably ripping the legs out of a warlord every time you fire it.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's I think it's 4 CP to do it, but it's funny.
Got to spend them on something.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we'll leave the Richard Lovin behind us. So we've got Stephen with his, I don't know, is this a real Legio or has he made it up? Because I've never heard of Lanya
They
Scar.
are a real one. I had to look them up as well.
Okay, so he's gone Ferox, very popular, and he's filled his to the boots, I think, with 2 Reavers and 3 Warhounds. I think that's all you can get with that one. Yep, 2 Reavers and 3 Warhounds is the best you can do. So.
And he's got a Warbringer as well.
Snuck that in at the end. So potentially this is a 6 activation. Probably worth doing that actually. I think.
Yeah, it's not a bad. If you're going to take a Warbringer and you don't have any synergies for them, probably best to just stick them as an auxiliary Titan and let them see if they do anything good.
But this is a good list, I think. This is the sort of list that, like, it's reliable, probably would be how I would describe it. Because he's got, like, loads of sort of Plasma Vulcan Mega Bolter on there. He's got even the Warbringer's got the laser blasters, which will help you strip shields, but also have a strong enough gun to do a bit of damage. And the Reavers are built for that sort of. One of them's for punching and things, and the other one's both of them have got Purpose actually. So I think this will be quite, call it a slow plod across the board, just shooting, raining fire on you.
Well, they can declare power to locomotives, 1 Titan per turn can power to locomotives without pushing its reactor, so they're pretty nippy. And then they get extra smash attacks when they charge in.
Ah, okay, that's good.
So if you've got chain fists, that's one thing we've not discussed. Is I don't know why people are taking power fists and not taking chain fists, because the amount of times you punch something with your power fist and just knock it backwards, you can't follow up with the rest of your weapons. But yeah, I think this is a strong little list.
You got anything, Richard? Is he there? Has he disappeared? He's got.
No, I am there. No, I'm just.
I just left because we talked about you. No. You had enough. You were off.
Yeah, we've
see you later.
Yeah, with his gamey mega bolters.
Yeah. The only thing I've got to ask actually is Stephen Clark related to Jason Clark?
Well, so there's 2 Greys and there's 2 Clarks, and I don't know if
yeah,
either
just
of them
I
are
noticed
related.
that as well. Yeah.
So I don't know what's going on here with the. No, they're not. He's just clarified. So that's very strange if it was a very like fraternal weekend ahead.
Yeah.
So I think that list will do well. Actually, I do think this list is probably the one that I'm not saying it'll win every game, but I don't think he'll be disappointed in anything he does. If he gets beat, it'll be through more luck or a slight misjudgment rather than like one Titan doesn't perform. Because I think he's probably got enough stuff in there to like. There's good output. There's good choices. I quite like this list actually. I think this will be a decent one.
He can, and with the traitor stratagems, he can reliably get that up the board as well.
So I think this is probably a bit of a dark horse, maybe we could call this one. So I think he'll do alright. Then we've got James Gray, no relation is my understanding to Scott. Then the Axiom, again, you're not going to bash the Axiom, it's a very, very good one. Although, can the Mesium, can they swap? They must be able to swap Warlords for Warhounds. Oh no, there's a Warlord in there, sorry.
There's a Warlord, a Warhound, a Warhound. So it's a 5 activation Axiom.
Yeah, which is probably sensible to keep the activations on your strategies going. Again, I mean, I keep saying like Gatling Blaster, Melta Cannon, Turbo Laser as if that's some sort of like common thing. There's not that many guns that a Reaver can pick from, but especially in plastic. But they're like I like that combo. I think that's a good combo. I think the Turbo Laser on the roof just gives you a wee bit more strength. Especially if you support it with something that can strip shields like the Apocalypse and the Laser Blaster of your sister Reaver. So I'm not. I think there's nothing in there that stands out where I'm like, oh, I can't believe he's picked that. I think this is another good list. Just
I'm
checking.
trying to I'm trying to work out why he's put Frozen Soul on his Reaver, on his first Reaver.
What does that do? I don't know that one.
So it's like a when you
Lets
take corruptions, you have to choose like a basic, and then you can go to further on ones. If that makes sense, like secondary ones.
Ah, right. Okay. So it's like an
And
opening.
Frozen Soul is one of those basic ones, and it lets you get an extra 2 repair dice that can only be used to vent plasma. So like on my Reaver, where I've used it to get rid of Carapace, that's the only reason I've taken it. But it would also work with that stratagem, giving me maximal fire on my weapons.
Right. Okay.
So I'm wondering if he's doing that because he's not taking any secondaries on that Reaver. And
yeah, it's an
I guess maybe you could use the draining on the turbo laser, couldn't you?
Yeah, but I mean, I think if you were doing that, you'd almost want to take a Disco Reaver and just have lasers on like on all the weapons and like make the most of it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to have a look at them. They're not a Legio I'm particularly familiar with. They ignore critical damage effects. They are envious. So the +1 to your command checks, as long as there's at least one enemy Titan of an equal or larger scale than their own. Um, and they can do a special repair strat. It's yeah, I mean, I think possibly this is an example of someone who's looked at the corruptions and thought, oh, I'll just put corruptions on everything because all the corruptions are good. But actually, you could have taken a banner of knights here for all those extra corruptions.
I think I mean corruptions. I don't think I think taking corruptions for the sake of corruptions could be quite risky as well because I don't know if you know this, Kieren, but when you take a corruption, you have to take negatives to your command checks and things.
Right. Okay.
And where I'm going with this Frozen Soul, I'm not seeing where the synergy is.
It looks like so. Fraser in the chat has said he's just basically taking what he can to get it to the 1750. So
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right.
So I think
Yeah.
that sounds like
Yeah.
from what you're saying, there's a wee bit of that in there. But in terms of the axiom and stuff, I think if he's limited by models, I think he's chosen well because
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
the axiom's reliable, the units he's
Yeah.
picked are reliable. Maybe
And,
that's going forward. He'll need to think about like what's he going to buy next, and it sounds like you guys think knights or something like that might be in his future.
yeah, I mean, the
Yeah.
Axiom is also really good with corrupted titans because if you fluff because your leadership is low, you can keep going. So it's not bad. I just yeah, it's interesting.
And if
I
there's
don't
some,
think it's a bad choice, but I think it's
so
maybe not how I would have done it.
if he comes, I don't know if it's James that's staying with me tomorrow, Fraser. But if there's something, if he happens to have the same polarity of magnets as me and he wants to change a gun or something, I don't think anyone's going to fall out with him if he wants to try something else. So, yeah, we can have a wee chat tomorrow maybe and make a little tweak if he's bothered. If he's not, let's crack on because I don't want to talk something like this is the thing. I hate when people meddle with lists and they're like trying to talk you out of picking something. So if he's happy with his list, let's just forget I said that. But if he wants to change a gun or something, then I'm happy to do that. I don't think
Yeah.
anyone's going to cry about it. So there's him. Then there's Jamie, of course, with his nice list. He called this one. So he's got his Ferox Maniple. Would you like to explain it to everyone? Your thought
So
process?
this is a Legio Vulpa Ferox maniple. If you're familiar with Legio Vulpa, they hit things up close. If you're familiar with Ferox maniples, they hit things up close. So I have got having just badmouth corruptions. I've got corruptions on everything. I've gone super basic for this. Um, so Reaver Titan, a Reaver Titan with disruption emitters, so they hit harder. Basically, that's a Legio Vulpa thing. Special war gear. Organic protrusion, so they hit harder, and overwhelming rage, so they hit harder and guarantee their charge orders. They can't fail a
Yeah.
charge order.
That's a great weak corruption. That.
Yeah, I mean it's very basic. Like this list does one thing, but it does it really well. It closes the gap and it kicks the crap out of stuff. Everything has disruption emitters organic protrusions, and overwhelming rage. I've tried to mix it up with my warhounds with the guns. I've only got one plasma blast gun Vulcan Mega Bolter, but to be honest, I'm not going to be firing the guns very much because they're going to be kicking things to death.
Does overwhelming rage give you +2 attack, 2 dice on your attack
+2 strength,
as well?
I think. One of them's +2 dice, one of them's +2 strength. No, I think you're right. I think it's the disruption emitters are +2 strength, and overwhelming rage is
+2 dice.
+1.
Oh, is it +1?
It's +1, and then I will tell you what they do rather than just making noises. Because I've got the book in front of me.
Shanktopus has said, "Oh Christ, that'll hurt." So
it's okay. We're on the same team, Shanktopus. So don't worry
Yeah.
A Titan with this mutation, so it always hits with 3 smash attacks with organic protrusions.
Oh, that's good.
And I get +1 for the overwhelming rage, so I always do 4 smash attacks.
That's pretty good.
Plus whatever you get for your charge bonus.
Yeah.
Now with the Legio Vulpa stuff, those hounds are smashing at strength 8, and then with the Ferox they're smashing at strength 9.
So don't let them get close to you, loyalists, if you're listening.
Now we did talk about the downsides of the corruptions, but
but I think when you've clearly got your corruptions all lined up to do, they've got a very clear thought path, if that makes sense. Like you know what you're doing with them. They're dedicated to doing that, so they make sense, and they're not going to be a drawback per se.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I can offset them with Warlust, so it's a 2 stratagem point strat. It's a traitor only one.
That's +2 to your movement, isn't it?
+2 to your movement and +2 to your command checks when full striding.
That's good.
Yeah.
So I full stride turn 1, and then I guarantee charge turn 2, unless someone's set up on the back line, basically.
And then Lancers for sort of support, which I think, given it's a close combat list, then that's probably the only option there.
Yeah, I mean, I would have taken Armigers, but I don't have any because I just wanted a unit to sit on the back line. A little of just to hold objectives and stuff. But I thought it's not that kind of event. I'm going close combat. I'll take close combat knights. So I've got my 6 activations.
So all that thing I say where I generally don't take a Power Fist on my stuff, whoever's playing you will be delighted if they have put a Power Fist on their
Yeah, that is true. Go away!
So this is a bit fast. I think this will be slick. This is your epitome of like either you're going to sort of have it sewn up in a couple of turns, or you're going to be scratching your head a bit if someone's managed to sort of get out the way or whatever. But interesting list. I've not really seen the Corrupted Titans used very often. The last time we had that very strange game, Richard, where the world was collapsing around us and short range and all that, so I didn't really get to see the benefit of it.
No.
So that'll be cool. I'll probably, if I am spectating, I'll be around watching one of these games to see what it does.
There are some like grosser ways of making sure your combat titans get in very early as well. You can do some things with squadroning in preternatural grace, I think it is. And you can get all your stuff up, but like you pass like 1 or 2 order checks and your entire formation moves forward.
Okay.
But I didn't go quite that nasty.
That's the next event. So then we've got Kieren with his Legio Silentum, which I think is a real one because he keeps changing between making one up and having rules that are actually published.
Well, I don't know. I thought this one was his made up one.
Oh, maybe it is. But he's given them
Yeah,
all
I don't
names,
know.
which is nice. So it's nice when that little extra touch of having the names and stuff.
Yeah, they're not a real one, so I assume he's using the custom Legio rules in Ryza.
So he's got them. So he's got a direwolf as well, which he's obviously just copying Richard. A couple of warhounds, 2 warlords. That's an expensive pairing. I don't tend to see many people running 2 warlords. But he's doing that mandatum maniple, which needs 1. Actually, is he? chucked another warlord in? He must have a bonus warlord because you only get one.
He has taken the custom legio trait that lets you pick a Titan type and you can
Okay.
swap it into
Right,
any
okay.
mana pool. I would guess anyway.
Maybe. I've not asked him about that, but I would assume so because he has done the custom stuff. So I think that like you're getting with a warlord nearby, your warhounds shoot better. So not surprised if he's done that and tried to get it, sneak a couple of warlords in there to get that bonus, and +2 to the warhounds command checks as well. So he generally likes to run forward. So
He will probably have Vanguard fighters as well, which is banned at a lot of events because it's so strong as custom legios.
he's not that bright, so he's probably not picked it.
I honestly, I was looking at this. I think he's either not put all of his points in, like all of his upgrades, or he's just running under points because, like, he must have corruptions that he's not put in.
I don't think he does run corruptions usually. Actually, I
Does he
think
not?
he
I
might
mean,
be running under.
I mean, he might be running under. I mean, if he's running under, he's running like a Titan under, which is
That would be
fine for him. But
I wouldn't be like him to do that. So maybe I'll need to ask him about it to make sure he's picked because it might be he's running under so he gets the bonus stratagem and it might have some genius ploy, but that doesn't seem like something he's talked about doing before. But I think what he's got, obviously, he's got his 5 activations, some strong warhound action, getting the +1 to hit if you're near the warlord and stuff, and then he loves running forward with a warlord. That's why the power claw does not surprise me on Silent Sentinel. He's not a very it's a very predictable player. He loves to run forward and smash with that power claw if he can. But if you've got 2 warlords, why not? Because it's like you're not going to be short in the firepower.
It's actually quite nice to see him running a list that is relatively normal, dare I say? Because Kieran's a great player to play against Jamie. Win or lose, he's a really good opponent. But he has this problem of he always wants to run quirky things. So when he started playing, he was running his custom legio, and it was always about first fire without taking command checks. So he would just sit in the back line. But then eventually what would happen is I would just walk up the field and get to him, and kill him in combat. So then he switched to only using close combat. And then that didn't work. So then he switched to running an army where everything had flamers on it and things. And this is probably the first time he's run like a pretty standard list here. I hope he does well with it.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it isn't under actually with the 2 warlords and the 3 hounds. No, that's maybe that is all right. I mean, he's missing the gyros on his warlords, which you don't have to take, but I kind of just see it as warlords cost 25 points more than they do, and I take the gyros.
Yeah.
I can't. Life's too short to be lining up corridor arcs.
Yeah, I agree with that. And Kieren is a great opponent, so he's probably going to watch this back and feel like we're slagging him off. We're totally not. He's a great opponent. He just takes far too long to play his turns. So that's probably the number one reason that I hope there's an odd number and I don't have to play, because I'll just stand by Kieren and tell him to stop telling his stupid stories and get on with the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, Fraser, gyros are a no-brainer. You're absolutely right. It'll be interesting to see. I'm just scrolling back. Who has taken gyros on their nemesis and who hasn't? Because there's been a bit of controversy over whether they need them or not. They do need them, but because in the
I can tell you who hasn't taken gyros on a warlord. Me.
you?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you don't have to take them, but
no, I would like to, but I was actually trying to cut things out of the list to fit them in, but I couldn't give up a Stormfrog on a Mega Bowler. So I was just like, I'm gonna have to just deal with it and just line up my corridors, because I do agree they are a no-brainer, really.
Yeah, because in the Loyalist book, the gun. So the gun originally came out and it was Corridor Arc on the top of the Warbringer. But then the Loyalist book, it was 90-degree arc.
Yeah.
And then in the Traitor book, it's gone back to being the Corridor arc. So different events run it. Honestly, I mean, if we're playing straight out the book, we'll have to play it as Corridor.
Yeah.
But I don't think the Warbringer is overpowered for not having to pay that 25 points. I think it should have the.
It's a bit more of like a bowl as well on the front of the Warbringer, isn't it? Like when you actually see the model. Like I can
Mhm.
understand a warlord being like, nah, that's corridors. Like it doesn't really turn, doesn't strike me as if it was a real thing, it would turn very well. But the Warbringer looks like it has that sort of 90-degree, like the whole bowl thing where someone there's like a platform to walk around on the model and stuff like that in 28
Yeah, I
mils.
mean,
So,
it literally turns on the model. It's a
yeah, exactly.
turntable, like a train thing
Yeah,
or a big artillery thing.
so I think that would
Yeah.
be meant to be, but I think we have to play it as the book for the first one at least, and then we can get into the foibles after. But
Mhm.
anyway, so Kieran's list, I think that'll do. Not too bad. I think he's 2 warlords. I mean, you know what you're getting. You're getting like a resilient army there. So he should be all right with that. And that's the last of those lists. So hopefully, if I click this, I'll be able to bring us all back into view, or me and you anyway, because Richard is a little icon. So I have the holy decider of who's playing who on the first turn, the first round, which will be interesting because I wrote these earlier and I can't tell who's who, which is good. So this is the first game. I won't say table one because we'll have to set it up, but I'll need to make these in a pile so that I don't lose them, and I'll prove.
Yeah, I was gonna take a note actually whilst you're doing
Jason
this. So.
Clark is playing. Kev Walters. That's a grudge match, isn't it?
Ooh.
Or is Jason the one from Aberdeen? Maybe not. You written that down?
Yep.
We have James Gray. I'm proving this as if like anyone would believe I was lying by.
Oh, he set it up. He set it up.
I could, because I've not even got them like in display. I could just be picking any name out I want. So I don't know why I'm sort of, but I'll keep doing it anyway. William Sutherland.
Ooh.
Richard Mcdonald,
There's that cheeky chap.
who's unlucky, whoever this is. Poor you. Turn up at lunchtime if you want. Fraser Hepburn. Oh no, Fraser.
Oh, Fraser!
Poor Fraser. He's coming all the way from Aberdeen for that.
He's coming. He's got to get there at 8 in the morning for that pasting.
That's just my psychological warfare setting in already because
Yeah.
I set the times.
Yeah, so it starts at 6. He's not told anyone. We've got Stephen Clark. Scott Gray. You're in here somewhere, Jamie, I swear.
I want Greg for my first game, so it's looking pretty likely.
Jamie. Let's find out. Are you getting your dream? Paul Eckworth.
Oh, it's Paul. Oh, Paul's played one game.
Yeah, you're gonna
Oh,
have to be
no,
nice to him. Let him win that
I'm
one.
gonna. I'll let him kill a Titan. Let's not go mad, Kieren.
Kieren has to play. Greg, as you expected, the last name out the pot. Greg Summers. And I'll fill in for whoever. I'll just deal with that as it comes up, and that'll be fine. Hopefully, I'll get to go around with a camera and take pictures. And I guess, like in terms of the day, well, the plan's already there. We start quite early, but we'll finish early, which is not always a bad thing as well. Like I know our events down in Stirling, they can run till like on the Saturday, they run till about 7, half 7. You can see people are just desperate to get away for something to eat and a bit of a rest. So while there's a bit of an early start, and we can only apologise for being a little bit early, at least you'll get home at a decent time and stuff. So I think there is a benefit in that as well.
Yeah, look, I'll put my hands up on that. I did organise it a bit early, so I do apologise for those guys having to travel. But I kind of like the idea of getting finished earlier in the day, and then people can hang about for a bit, chat, whatever.
Yeah, because we want to get feedback as well. I was saying that to
Yeah.
Jamie before the stream. Like, I think the key thing's going to be at the end of the day, getting people into a huddle and just having a chat. And we fully expect to get a bit of feedback about the start time, but seeing how the day went, do people want to do another? I hope so. that side of things is really useful feedback. And doing it live, I generally down in Stirling, I'll send a feedback form because there's 30, 40 people, and standing in a huddle then is not going to be very constructive. But less of us, it'd be useful just having sort of a half-hour chat, maybe, or less if you've got to get off and get home to Aberdeen. But just some sort of feedback would be good, just to see.
I should say as well, we did actually look at pushing the time back, the start time, but there's actually a booking in straight after us in the hall. It's a really busy hall, so time is limited in there. So, but yeah.
And then we've got so I think I've shared these, and they'll look crap on this screen, but I'll hold it up anyway. So these are the things I was making. Oops, I knew that would happen. The little tokens. So that's the one with the 4 cogs, which is a normal Princeps token. I had someone custom designed them for me because I just liked the look of it. Because we did our big scale game. I've lost the little thing that's gone in it. It's in there somewhere. So there's 2 of them. I won't flip this one quite as far. And they're for the 2 people that are voted the best loyalist and the best traitor painted. And then there's a bigger one for the overall, we'll call it the champion, I don't know. The print, I've taken the little thing out, but that's one of these. I hand casted these, 3D printed them, took a mould and hand cast them, so I'm a man of many talents. They're a little bit rough.
Did you manage to get my name on it already?
Yeah, I've started carving it in already.
Yeah, brilliant. That's perfect.
So they're a little bit rough and stuff, and you'll see that. I'll put them out on the table for people to have a look at. But I think that's kind of nice because it makes them a bit more unique. And the whole concept was a Princeps would wear it roughly here on their chest. A little bit bigger, obviously, but I imagine that would see a bit of wear and tear over the time of wearing their honours. So we've got those. I don't have any of the little tokens actually. They're through in the sunroom. So everyone's going to get some of the little tokens. I was using them for reminders if something's activated. I think that's something that some people get when you've been playing for a long game or a long day. Some people forget if they've activated their Titan in a phase, and it's always a bit awkward, I find, where you're like, I better not shoot because I might have shot, and my opponent doesn't remember.
Yeah.
So that would be good to have that handy if you want. I'll have them ready for people to go.
It's Fraser says to check your Facebook
Yeah.
Messenger. I assume he's sending you naughty pictures. To
Yeah.
get an easier
Oh,
draw.
I didn't realise it was that big. So
is that a volcano cannon in your pocket, Fraser?
my reactor, no, it's push for reactor. So he sent me a picture. This is quite a nice touch actually. So I didn't ask Fraser to do this, but we were chatting a wee bit earlier. So he has made so Fraser, if you don't know, makes his own nameplates and stuff for Titans, and he's got a business that I don't think your Etsy's been solved yet, but basically Etsy stole all his money temporarily until he can prove he's a legitimate business. So he prints nameplates and the tile plates. I don't know what you'd call those. The ones you put on your actual reactor Titan terminal. So he's actually made one for the overall winner, which is nice as well. So that's a nice little extra we've got. And we've also got certificates. The winning faction, all those things will get a certificate, but the winning faction, because this is narrative and this is about the planet, which is the sort of kickstart of the next phase. Because in the last sector we fought in, the loyalists absolutely curb stomped the traitors to bits. So we're starting a new one because it was getting out of hand. So we're starting a new planet now. So this is a chance for the traitors to give a bit back, especially with Jamie playing. Get some points on the board for the traitor faction before.
Yeah, I mean this. I think the traitor. There's a couple of loyalists in there that might give us some trouble, but I'm fairly comfortable it's going to be a traitor victory.
That's it. That's the spirit. You can be like the commander in chief. So we'll get the 3 games. Obviously, it's a bit more. I would say it's like a pseudo tournament. There's going to be an overall winner. There's a wooden spoon as well. Actually, we didn't talk about that. So it's kind of. I don't want it to have that mindset of being a tournament because I don't really enjoy sort of. I would rather have a laugh. It's kind of my mindset. But there is that added responsibility on everyone of there is a planet at stake here that you're fighting over as well. So just thought we'd add that in just to keep the events all linked. because we've got the next events in December for Age of Darkness, and then they're every 6 months. So that's part of the discussion: is how often would people want to do AT, assuming you have fun on Saturday, and how often we can get the hall booked as well, because that'll be pretty cool. And just seeing how.
Promise it'll start a bit later.
No, it'll start earlier, so
Yeah.
you get an easier win in game one.
I'm going down tonight to get set up. I don't
Just
know
in
about
case
the
he's
rest.
lying. We don't trust Richard. It's actually booked for like tomorrow night to play. But I think it's good. Like I think it's fair to say I would hold my hand up. The communication and the pre-event stuff, I've been a bit lax. I would say the last 2 months I've not really been that fussed for the hobby. I've gone off the boil a little bit. I think there's just a lot of negativity online and a lot of bullshit online. It's not another way of putting it. A lot of people spend far too long arguing than if they've just devoted a bit more time to having fun and being nice people and playing games and painting their models. They'd probably get a lot more from the hobby. But I can't control other people, so it's up to me. This is my chance to get back in the groove, get some event stuff going, and yeah, well, enjoy yourselves. I think it's fair to say we're all looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm
Definitely.
really excited. I haven't played AT for a couple of months now, so really looking forward to getting my eye back in. And yeah, I mean, Kieren and I were talking before we came on. We're both saying the same thing. We're both in a bit of a hobby, not rut, but like lethargy maybe with the hobby. So I'm really excited to kind of give myself a kick at the bum again.
I think that's definitely what an event does. I think is that it's very rare you come home from an event and you just go, I can't be arsed with that anymore. Like generally, I come home from an event and I'm like, oh, I wish I'd taken Monday off so I could get the painting done. So that sort of thing. And there's my darling wife saying that December you hope, because it could be the last time, given that baby is due in Hogmanay. Hopefully, fingers crossed.
I'm on standby to go down and run a heresy.
Might come. Oh, you can come. There's one ticket left for outside play. If you want to come and just be the backup person, you don't have to buy a ticket for that. So that's fine as well.
When is it? What date?
3rd and 4th of December.
Oh, it's a bit early because my holidays don't, because I'm self-employed. If I don't work, I don't get paid. So my holidays will start a little bit later in December. But
Lay off. Richard's abandoned me as well, so I won't take it personally. I'm
sick of him, to be honest, Richard. I don't know about you.
I thought you were going to say you're sick of Richard because I was going to agree with you.
No, I mean this is our chance to usurp him.
Wouldn't it be hard?
Yeah, overthrow him.
Fine, you can have it. So Shanktopus has said it's the best rule set that GW's made for a long time, and the attitude is what matters. And I think I would agree on. I think that's 2 points you've made. I think it is the best rule set they've made in a while because it's relatively balanced. I think I'm not going to be negative because I think it is a really good rule set, but it frays a little bit each time they add something. Maybe I think is fair to say, because the Direwolf was definitely a little bit odd. But odd, I'll say.
I was tempted to take the turn 1 charging Direwolf with disruption emitters and yeah, it's got this big gun on the back of it. It's never going to fire it because it's just kicking your head in.
So, and then I think
I just
you don't have
sorry,
to
you
defend
go,
yourself.
No?
If you want to make a point about the Direwolf, on you go.
No. It wasn't about the Direwolf.
And then I was just going to say about the sort of attitude. I think it is just, it's rare. Like I've played in tournaments of 40k back in the olden days, and I don't mind getting my head kicked in a game. I just mind if the person is an arsehole about it and isn't fun to chat. Like, because everyone's rolled badly. Everyone's like, you've had your 3-inch charge that you failed because you rolled double ones. You've had your 20 shots that all miss despite hitting on 2s. Well, maybe that's a bit extreme, but you've not done any damage that you've expected to do. And that's just luck of a dice game, isn't it? But if your opponent is sort of in the moment with you and wanting you to do well because they quite like you, I think that just makes a bit of a difference compared to like almost someone being like yes in your face when you miss. Like I've had people do that to me at Warhammer Worlds, and it's just like, what's the point even playing? Because you can just win if it matters that much. I'll just go and sit in Bugman's and drink if you want, because I don't need to win to have a good time. So I think there's something in there about the attitude.
Yeah, just going off that, right? Because I should probably say this. So a lot of events do best sportsmanship, best player, whatever. And if you're looking at the pack, you might be quite surprised that there's not an award in there for that, because I chose the awards for this. Now, I run fantasy events, for those who don't know, and I never put best sportsman in. And I say this at the start of my events every time, and I'll say it now. The only reason I do that is because I don't believe that you should be awarded for being a good player. I think everybody should be the best player they can be, win or lose. So just because that's not in there, don't think you have to be a good player. Okay?
Don't
That's
think you have to
all
be
I
a
was going
good
to say on
player,
that.
did you say?
Don't think you don't have to be.
Yeah.
There we
Yeah,
go.
sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh no,
Yeah.
I wasn't.
English.
Don't worry, I had no illusions that I was turning up to win best sportsmanship.
English is not my strong suit, but I think everyone knows what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. No, I think it's a good point actually. It's like, why are why award someone for doing what everyone should be doing anyway? It's like turning up and being like, oh yeah, I didn't hit someone over the head with a hammer, therefore I should get a special trophy.
yeah.
I think it's in like that's why like I did read that and think, oh, maybe we should. But I think you're right to give it a go. Minimum meddling at this stage, and maybe the feedback will be people would prefer it, and of course we can consider that later and stuff. But I think
Yeah, I
right,
mean, if people want it, then give it to the people.
yeah,
You know, it's the event is for you guys. At the end of the day, that's why we're running it. So, but it's just for a starting point, I just didn't put it in because I don't think I need to award anyone on.
I think it's worth doing because we're talking about like a small. We know it's a small scale event. We know we're not going to have 40 people. We know we're not going to
Yeah.
have like we're already potentially someone can win the faction, the best painted, and the overall winner. So that sort of combo, like, and then to add a sportsmanship in as well, like, it's nice to kind of have a bit of a spread, I think, as well is important in events. So maybe there's certain things we should have considered and could consider for the next one, like the first person to blow up a Titan each round gets a gold coin, a bag of gold coins. That sort of stuff I think is quite fun in an event, and it makes it a bit more. Maybe that bag of gold coins wouldn't make me change my strategy, but say it was like the first person into their opponent's deployment zone got a £5 Forge World voucher or something. Like those sorts of things can be like, ooh, it might throw the game, but at least I'll have a £5 voucher to go for it. So that sort of stuff I think would be my suggestion we put in next time. But we've not even had one yet, so maybe I'm being a bit, bit mean to sort of pick it apart already. But I think that'll be good. I'm looking forward to it. Got a busy day tomorrow of making sure I've printed enough tokens, dry brushing my terrain. Although it sounds like Jamie's single-handedly bringing enough for nearly the whole thing.
I think I'm bringing 3-4 tables worth, so we should be all right.
And if Scott brings his, we've got enough.
Scott said he would bring 2 tables worth.
Okay, so I'll do it anyway because I need to do it, and I've got a day off work, so it means if I feel guilty, then I'll have to do it.
Yeah, I mean the other thing is we probably want to go dense tables because, as we were saying earlier, if you're on Planet Bowling Ball, it's a very different game than if you're playing around a built-up city.
Yeah. I think corridors is what I kind of enjoy, like a sort of almost Zone Mortalis-esque, where you don't get a straight walk to the other side. You have to maybe do some zigzagginess.
Yeah, we've found setting it up diagonal, so the streets go diagonally is quite good.
That's a good idea. So that would be good. And then I'm not sure there's a huge amount else. We start early doors. If you're still here and watching us ramble on, then there's a shop nearby for lunch, but there's not really anything fancy unless you want to either pick up a Harry Gow's on the way, which is a bakery, which you'll have to do on the way there because it's on one side of a dual carriageway, or walk up the steps.
There's a cost cutter down the road as well.
Yeah, which has got basic stuff. I would suggest maybe doing your shopping before, because the cost cutter, what it has is pretty shit, but it would do if you forget.
Yeah.
And there's a toilet, there's a kitchen. I think we're back to having access to the kitchen. During COVID, we were completely banned, not allowed to go.
Yeah, so I was going to actually ask you to post that on the event page. So we do have access to the kitchen now. There is a kettle and microwave. Okay. So people could take microwave meal if they want.
if I'm organised,
Maybe.
I'll bring some tea bags and some milk or something like that as well. So I'm assuming we've got access to all the cupboards with the the cups and stuff in it.
Yeah. So we got access to all that.
Okay, that'll be good. And then it's
So
just
if you could put a post up, actually saying we've got access to the kitchen,
I will.
just because obviously not everyone's going to be on this stream. So
I'll do that. I'll upload this video so that people can watch it later if they want, and then I will put that post. So I'll try and remember to do that by tomorrow morning sometime. But I don't know if there's a huge amount else. We're looking forward to it. We're gonna have to find a suitable plaque for Jamie to have with his many-cogged award, unless some loyalist can step in and take him down a peg or two.
I don't know. We'll see. I mean, Fraser's list looks pretty scary. Greg's list looks pretty scary. I mean, to be fair, if it comes down to points, it might be between Richard's list pretty scary as well.
Oh, so Richard could outscore you.
If Richard outscored me, I mean, I don't think the person who's running the event should be able to win it though. There's
Yeah,
just a
that's
personal
true.
opinion. It seems a bit iffy if you ask
Surely
me.
we'd give you the little token at least.
No,
but I'm not running the event. Kieran is.
Uh,
I just did the paperwork, the admin.
You picked the missions. You probably picked the ones that suit you. But that'll be good. So I
I
think.
think I picked the missions actually.
you?
I think it was the mission pack that I sent over, wasn't
Oh,
it?
okay.
Yeah. We used Jamie's missions.
Oh,
Yeah.
there we go. So it's Jamie's fault.
I mean, the missions are just the ones out of the deck of cards, but
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
everyone has the deck of cards.
I think that's fine. But if there's anything that comes up, people need to ask. They can let me know. We'll invariably have one dropout. That's sort of every event goes through that. So I might end up playing anyway, which is fine. And I'm just looking forward to it now. I think you two have kind of G'd me up a bit and got me back into that. Like, come on, let's hobby. I feel like getting some Titans out to paint right now, even though I know I won't because it's 9:45 and I'll not be bothered. But I think that's going to be good. So I guess it's just we'll see you on Saturday, bright and early. We'll be there earlier than 8 to set up. Richard's always late, so I won't go too early. I'll hang back till 7:30 on the dot. Because I think he's been early once in the last 10 times we've been at the hall. And
And that was a minute early.
yeah, it was, but still counts. And that's it, really. So thanks very much for watching and bearing with us through list review. And thanks, Jamie, your debut on the stream.
Yes, thanks very much.
You had a bit more insight than us, which is very helpful.
Very handy.
And see you on
Well,
Saturday.
this is it. I just made it up, so you've no idea whether what I said was right or not.
I'm gonna go and check it now. So that'll be good. And yeah, see you guys on Saturday.
Great. See you later. Bye.